Alex Carter, a man of science and solitude, found solace in the forgotten language of radio waves. His life was a tapestry woven with the threads of electromagnetic frequencies, each one a note in the grand symphony of the cosmos. His workshop, a sanctuary of vintage receivers and vacuum tubes, buzzed with the echoes of a bygone era. The room was a labyrinth of wires and circuits, a testament to the golden age of radio. Each piece of equipment held a story, a fragment of history that Alex cherished deeply. The air crackled with static, a symphony of white noise that whispered secrets only he could understand. To the untrained ear, it was just noise. But to Alex, it was a language, a dialogue between the past and the present. His fingers, calloused yet nimble, danced across the dials, tuning in to the ghosts of conversations past. Each twist and turn brought a new voice, a new story, a new mystery to unravel. It was a delicate dance, a ballet of precision and intuition. But it was in the silence between the frequencies that he felt most alive, a hunter stalking prey in the ethereal wilderness of the airwaves. The gaps, the pauses, the voids, they were the spaces where imagination took flight, where the mind could wander and explore. One humid night, as lightning danced on the horizon, a new sound pierced the static. The storm outside mirrored the tempest within his mind, a chaotic symphony of light and sound. It was faint, barely audible, like a whisper carried on the wind. The sound was elusive, slipping through the cracks of the static, teasing his senses. A chill ran down his spine, a primal instinct warning him of the unknown. It was a feeling he couldn't shake, a sense of being on the brink of discovery or danger. He adjusted the dials, his pulse quickening as the signal grew stronger, a haunting melody that seemed to claw its way from the depths of the radio itself. The sound was mesmerizing, pulling him deeper into its enigmatic embrace. It was a frequency he'd never encountered before, a siren song beckoning him into its depths. The allure was irresistible, a call to venture into the unknown, to decode the mysteries that lay hidden in the static. Alex knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in his lifelong quest to understand the invisible symphony that surrounded him. The voice, when it finally broke through, was ancient and ethereal, a chorus of whispers that seemed to emanate from the very fabric of reality. It was as if the universe itself had decided to speak, choosing Alex as its unwitting conduit. The sound was not just heard, it was felt, resonating deep within his bones, stirring something primal and long forgotten. It spoke of forgotten things, of ancient rituals and cosmic horrors that lurked just beyond the veil of human perception. These were not mere stories or myths, but truths buried in the annals of time, waiting to be unearthed. The voice painted vivid pictures in Alex's mind, of dark ceremonies under blood-red moons, of eldritch beings that defied comprehension. Alex, his heart pounding in his chest, found himself captivated, his skepticism melting away like snow in the face of a raging fire. He had always been a man of science, grounded in logic and reason, but this was something beyond the realm of the known. It was as if a door had been opened, revealing a universe teeming with mysteries and wonders. He recorded the transmissions, his mind racing to decipher their meaning. Each word, each phrase was a puzzle piece, a fragment of a larger, incomprehensible picture. He filled notebooks with his observations, his thoughts spiraling into a labyrinth of speculation and theory. The patterns, the intonations, the sheer otherworldly nature of the signal hinted at something vast and unknowable. It was a language, but not one of words. It was a symphony of the cosmos, a melody that transcended human understanding. Alex could feel its rhythm, its pulse, as if it were a living entity communicating through the ether. Days turned into nights as Alex delved deeper into the mystery of the forgotten frequency. He lost track of time, his existence reduced to a cycle of listening, recording, and analyzing. The outside world faded into insignificance, replaced by the allure of the unknown. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by an insatiable hunger for understanding. His dreams, when they came, were filled with visions of alien landscapes and cryptic symbols. He awoke with a sense of urgency, driven by a need to uncover the truth behind the voice. The voice, once a whisper, now boomed through his workshop, its alien cadence seeping into his dreams, his waking thoughts, his very soul. It was no longer just a signal. It was a presence, a force that had entwined itself with his very being. He could feel it guiding him, pushing him towards a revelation that lay just out of reach. He felt a strange pull towards the signal, a sense of kinship with the unknown intelligence that broadcast it. It was as if he had been chosen, marked by the cosmos for a purpose he could not yet comprehend. The voice was a beacon, calling him towards a destiny that promised both wonder and terror. And as he reached out, he knew that his life would never be the same again. Word of the strange frequency and Alex's obsession spread through the online forums and chat rooms where fringe researchers and amateur cryptographers gathered. Soon, a small but dedicated group of individuals, drawn together by their shared curiosity and a thirst for the unknown, had formed. They called themselves the Listeners. They were teachers, students, housewives, and retirees, ordinary people united by an extraordinary mystery. Night after night, they huddled in Alex's workshop, their faces illuminated by the glow of computer screens and the soft, flickering light of vacuum tubes. They shared theories, compared notes, and argued over interpretations of the cryptic messages. Some believed it was a message from extraterrestrials, others a transmission from a parallel dimension. Alex, ever the pragmatist, clung to the belief that there had to be a rational explanation, a scientific basis for the seemingly impossible. But as the nights wore on and the signal grew stronger, even his resolve began to waver. As the listeners delved deeper into the mystery of the forgotten frequency, strange things began to happen. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a whisper in the wind. But soon, the eerie occurrences became impossible to ignore. At first, it was just subtle things, a feeling of being watched, nightmares filled with static and whispers, objects moving inexplicably in the dead of night. The listeners would wake up drenched in sweat, their hearts pounding, convinced that something was lurking just beyond their sight. But as the days turned into weeks, the incidents grew more frequent, more intense. The whispers became louder, the shadows darker, and the sense of dread more palpable. It was as if the forgotten frequency had awakened something ancient and malevolent. One of the listeners, a young woman named Sarah, claimed that the voices from the radio were following her home, whispering her name in the darkness. She would lie in bed, paralyzed with fear, as the whispers grew louder and more insistent, filling her with a sense of impending doom. Another, a retired engineer named Frank, began to experience vivid hallucinations, seeing shadowy figures lurking at the edge of his vision. These figures seemed to move with a purpose, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Frank's once logical mind was now consumed by fear and paranoia. Alex, initially dismissive of these reports as stress-induced paranoia, found himself unable to ignore the growing sense of unease that permeated the group. He had always been the skeptic, the voice of reason, but now even he was beginning to question his own sanity. He too was plagued by nightmares, vivid, disturbing dreams in which he was trapped in a cold, metallic room, surrounded by speakers that blared the incessant drone of the strange signal. The sound was deafening, a relentless assault on his senses that left him feeling disoriented and helpless. He felt a presence in his workshop, a coldness that clung to the air like a shroud. It was as if the very walls were closing in on him, suffocating him with their oppressive weight. The once familiar space had become a place of terror and uncertainty. The line between reality and delusion was blurring, and he began to fear that they were tampering with forces beyond their comprehension. The forgotten frequency had become an obsession, a dark and twisted puzzle that consumed their every waking moment. They were no longer just listeners. They were prisoners of the unknown, trapped in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. The listeners began to gather more frequently, sharing their experiences and trying to make sense of the madness that had overtaken their lives. They pored over notes, recordings, and journals, desperate to find a pattern, a clue, anything that could explain the horrors they were facing. In their quest for answers, they turned to ancient texts and forgotten lore, hoping to uncover the origins of the frequency. They scoured libraries and archives, unearthing old, dusty books that spoke of dark rituals and forbidden knowledge. The deeper they delved, the more they realized that they were dealing with something far older and more powerful than they had ever imagined. They found old photographs that seemed to capture shadowy figures lurking in the background, their eyes filled with malice. Hidden messages were discovered, cryptic warnings that hinted at the dangers of the frequency. It was as if the past was reaching out to them, trying to warn them of the peril they faced. Despite the fear and uncertainty, the listeners were determined to uncover the truth. They knew that they were on the brink of something monumental, a discovery that could change everything. With a mix of trepidation and resolve, they continued their investigation, knowing that the answers they sought were within their grasp, but also aware that the cost of those answers might be more than they were willing to pay.